about that point about the administration. So there's what he has said publicly. You talked a little bit about the campaign promises that were made. They wouldn't be the first politicians who made promises during a campaign and then just failed to deliver on them. It's been known for I think that's just a politician's thing.
Right.
But in terms of gay rights across the board, there's what he stated publicly, and then there's the word on how he really feels personally about the issue, that he personally was more supportive than he was able to publicly show, and that perhaps now things are starting to evolve a little bit more around to where he actually is a supporter of the community. You've sat down with the man, you had conversations with him. What would you say to that?
Well, I never try to speak. I try to stay away from talking about what politicians personally feel, because, you know, who can possibly say what's in their heart? I don't know. That's what we're all guessing at, right? When we vote, when we go to the voting booth, isn't that what we're guessing at? Is what's in their heart. It's so hard to know, especially these days. I would say, just in terms of, I think you're talking about his evolution on marriage and marriage equality, right, where he's said now that he's evolving, and of course during the campaign supported civil unions. But let's remember that when he was running for state senate back in 1996, he signed a candidate questionnaire for the Windy City Times saying that he supported same-sex marriage and that he would fight anyone who was, you know, against going against providing that right to people. So he sort of devolved before he evolved, or he's evolving. He hasn't evolved yet. We're looking for the ED. That's what we're looking for. One of the things that I came away with from my first 2 years is that if what are your priorities for a politician are not to some extent in the top 3 of their priorities, then unfortunately you're a bargaining chip. So you are the constituency or the issue or whatever that they're willing to sort of push to the side in order to get people to do the things that are their top, you know, 2 or 3, maybe 4 priorities. So you better be darn sure when you vote for someone that that person isn't just signaling that they like you or that they want to do what you want them to do, but that they're diehard, full core in it if you can. Because if they're not one of their top 3 priorities, and I just use, you know, that as a number, but, you know, go up and down a little bit.
3 to 5.
3 to 5, but you know, well, if you look, I mean, healthcare became his top priority, and they got it done, and they took a lot of time to do it, more than what most people think maybe they needed, but they were sacrificing a lot of other stuff on the way to doing that.
I think
right?
It's so interesting what you said, that we are like a bargaining chip. The bargaining chip is not so far off from being a token. And believe me, I know what it means, what it means to be a token at times. And I think when we talk about our self-worth, we should realize that in the game of politics, right now, we are no more than tokens to a lot of people in the parties that say and claim to lay their foundations and platforms based on our equality. I think tokenism right now is sometimes more dangerous to the human spirit than is the real discrimination, because we're told that only if we do certain things for these people, then we can be dragged along and brought along and fooled along to this. And I feel from President Barack Obama today, I feel manipulated. And I believe that our community should feel manipulated, because I think that this president is very skilled and adept at doing that. And most politicians should be. And many people would say, well, why would you say that kind of stuff to your friend? Well, I mean, my friends are quite different from political allies, and I think we should realize that point. Harry Reid, sure, we're friendly, but I don't give him a call and say, I'm lonely, let's go have a drink. Let's have a mimosa for brunch.
Oh my gosh, I would love to be on a fly on the wall with that. I'm going to that brunch. You just text me.
But we should know who our friends are. I would have a mimosa with Carrie any day, and most people in this room, even though I don't even know most of you are here. But I think a politician must be treated differently. And if you pay for the mimosa, especially for Kathy's, then I'm sure you'll all be.
I got your back.
On the campaign trail, for instance, and this is just my frame of reference, you saw Barack Obama raise his hand and say, who here thinks Don't Ask, Don't Tell should be repealed, in front of mainstream audiences. He did that many times. So that raised that issue above almost any other of our issues, just by virtue of the fact that he talked about it and promised it and became part of the mainstream conversation. that's not something in some ways that we have total control over. I mean, we cannot dictate all the time which issues are going to rise to that level. We can try to push them, but we can't always.
Yeah, and I learned some of those important lessons as well as what gets out into the media. I was arrested for Employment Non-Discrimination Act, and there was only gay and straight people that were arrested in Las Vegas as we shut down the Las Vegas Strip in a very contentious election where Harry Reid and Sharon Eagle were at each other's throats and neck. And a lot of people in the gay and transgender community said, why are you here? Why are you, as an outside force, coming in here making a ruckus about ENDA? And after I went to jail that night and the next month met up with Autumn Sandine, who was a petty officer, transgender, in the Navy. I went to jail with her 2 times, right there on the fence. Don't ask, don't tell. And you say token, but I would say that what she has done and what she has sacrificed on behalf of the transgender community is very strategic, because the people who serve in the military have a social cachet that people like Diane and like all of those others who simply wanted to work in the corporate America, they just won't resonate. And this is my advice to any group, not just transgender people. Now, before I say this, I want to say that throughout this journey, I have been a bit resentful about why certain transgender activists have blamed me for erasing the T. And I think I have been more inclusive than probably any of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal activists to get arrested with transgender people, to speak up for them at schools, to speak up for them in front of white supremacists. When I talk to the audiences that I can resonate with, people have to know that I have this ability to be a certain bridge of only certain communities. I understand my limitations, but that's where transgender people, and not only transgender people, but all different kinds of social movement activists, that's where they need to find their success. In finding what is already there in their social cachet. Why does the military and, say, for instance, religion and what other institutions in America have that, that almost godlike superhuman quality that they can never do wrong? Why is it that our super ultra liberal organizations and movement vehicles, why is it that they are so afraid to tackle the issues of faith? When you're even talking about Prop 8, why are they so afraid that if you get rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell in the past 2 years? I've heard this many times when I go to colleges. They say, you know what, don't use the military stuff. That's my advice to you. And I'm not also, as one final thing, I'm not going to just bring along transgender people as tokens. My advice to them is you have to stand up for yourself. And I think it's just as dangerous for transgender people to start blaming gay people and saying you're erasing the T. I will help transgender people as much as anybody wants. I will get arrested with them, but they have to lead the charge.